our civic responsibilities. So, well, the first one is a U.S. citizen has the responsibility to vote. So on this slide, you're going to go to the insert button in your slideshow at the top where it says like file, edit, view, and it says insert. Click it, then click image, and then click search the web. And from our slides, you can type in the word vote or voting and see what pops up, and then pick whatever image you want and put it into this slide. So you can pause here, or if you're working separately. Next, we have, so voting, you have to be at least 18 years or older to vote. Originally, the law said you had to be 21 or older to vote, but quite a few years ago, there was an amendment passed that changed it from 21 to 18. And the reason for that being is because you had to be 18 to go to war. That was the minimum age requirement. So a lot of people felt that if you could be 18 and go off to war and fight for our country, then you should be able to vote for our country. And the law and the amendment was passed. So now you can be 18 and vote. And then you also have to be a United States citizen in order to vote. So like I was saying earlier, if someone moved from England to the United States and they were just visiting, they couldn't register to vote in our country for the upcoming presidential election. They would have to apply to be a United States citizen. So that's just because it would be weird if we had someone who maybe they were just visiting from England, if they decided to vote in our election, even though they didn't know anything about what's going on in our political system. But if someone moved here and this was going to be their new home and they applied for citizenship in the United States, they should absolutely have the right to vote because this is their country now too and their new home. And there's a little game right here that you can click on. It's really cool. Just click on the link and you can practice voting, which is very cool because we have our presidential election coming up in November. So you'll get a little taste of what maybe your parents and some of your adult relatives will be doing this November. Next, we have a U.S. citizen has the responsibility to obey state and federal laws. So this is one of our responsibilities. Some state and federal laws, like a state law is you have to wear your seatbelt when you're driving. So that's a state law. We are required to follow the law, and if you are driving and a police officer sees that you don't have your seatbelt on, you can get pulled over and get a ticket for that. So there's a lot of examples of state and federal laws. So put 2 examples of laws you have to follow. Next, we have a U.S. citizen has the responsibility to pay state and federal taxes. This is super important because our state and federal taxes are what allow us to come to public school. When you live in a city, like if you live in Williamston, you pay taxes to the city of Williamston and to the state of Michigan. And those taxes, in turn, are then given to public institutions like hospitals, schools, etc. And so when people live in Williamston and they pay taxes to Williamston, it helps provide funding for us to have a really nice school and have all the materials we need to learn and thrive. So watch this video. It helps us break down the different kinds of taxes we have. And it's really important that we pay our taxes every year. Next, a U.S. citizen has the responsibility to serve on a jury if selected. So if you ever heard of the word jury duty, this is what this is referring to. People are randomly selected if you're 18 or over to come and serve on a jury. A lot of people feel that serving on a jury, it takes up their time, they have to take off work, and a lot of different reasons. But having a jury and serving on a jury is one of the fundamental rights of our country, because people have the right to a fair trial. They have the right to a fair jury. So it's our duty and our rights as citizens to serve on a jury and to make sure that the case that we're on in a court that we're deeming fair and equitable, and we are using our best judgment to decide if someone really is guilty or not. So there's a really cool video that describes the roles of judges and juries. Next, a U.S. citizen has the responsibility to register for selective military service. This is for males. So if you're a male, 18 to 25, you must register for selective service. That means that if there's ever a draft needed in a war, like people were drafted into World War II, these males may be selected to join the military. There's a lot of different circumstances that can go into this. If you have a medical condition or anything like that, you can be opted out of being drafted. But if you're 18 to 25, perfect health, etc., then you can be drafted into military service, which means that if they call your number or your name and there's a war, that you have to go fight. It's not just voluntary at that point. It's you have to go, and it's illegal not to go. So we haven't had a draft in a long time, but it's always there. And as soon as you turn 18, if you're a male, you have to register for the draft. So here now you can summarize your learning. Put an answer to each of these 3 questions in the answer column. You're going to answer, what is a citizen? You might have to go back in your slides. That's perfectly okay. That means that you're looking for the right answer, and I prefer that you backtrack than just guess. 2, what does the government have to do for its citizens? Again, we talked a lot about how the relationship between a citizen and its government is like a give and take. So what does the government give to its citizens? And then lastly, list 4 responsibilities that the citizens have. Our last few slides talked about a lot of our civic responsibilities. You can write any 4 of those down. Perfect. Now, let me explain our assignment.